can someone help me regulate this PA system, please?
Put mics on or just one?
Huh?
Put mics on. Switch on.
No, it's only one. Maybe the volume. Esa, do you know how to regulate the PA system? Can you reduce the volume a bit? Yes. Just the volume. After doing the living, doing the group food. What after living? After yes. Hello. Wanya ko tutere. Wanya. Yeah. Hello. Boy, you are not reducing it. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Yeah. I think it's better now. Yeah. Okay. Guys, are we set?
Are you set?
I don't want to. Have you checked your volume, madam? All of you? You? Okay.
Are you set?
Yeah, if we are set, then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is still not good. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this very important organized by the Center for Research and Policy Development, which is going to discuss on the Afrobarometer's findings on governance in the Gambia. And also there will be a slide after the presentation. There will be an engagement on how journalists can utilize this data. How can you understand the data and also utilize it for the for public consumption? On the high table, we have Madam Mariam Davis, temporal boss, and we have the chief consultant, Sid Matijau, who is here. So probably before we go further, as tradition demands in the Gambia, we just pray in our individual ways. Amen. Good morning, colleagues, as well. My colleagues who are here from the media and the staff of the CRPD. We have Al-Sufism. You guys know Al-Sufism, huh? Yes. Al-Sufism Namusisi. I've seen publications around the data that you've said earlier. I think it has made some headlines around. I've seen people sharing it online as well, which is very important. And mostly when we have this bulky data or complex data, sometimes we see journalists just publishing just one out of the lot. So I believe it is important to look at how best we can serialize this data, because this is not just a normal data. These are based on people's perception, how people are thinking in the country. We can help. We can also help government to pay attention on certain issues, because they go to the public, the CRPD, they go to the public and then talk to them about their perceptions on certain things. So it's important not to just publish one out of the lot. It's important to also look into the data and know how to analyze it. You can also engage Mariam and say it further and even trigger public conversation around it. Why do people want to leave the country? 79%, I think. I've seen that publication. Why do we want to leave the country? Particularly young people, young Gambians, elderly people. Why? What's the problem? So we have to trigger conversation around these very important things. So now we would want to invite Madam Davis though I've welcomed you, that was not supposed to be my job. That was just informal welcoming. We will hear from Mariam, then Sid will also come and do a presentation. After the presentation, we'll have a conversation around the presentation. So kindly please, with a round of applause, welcome Mariam to take the welcome remarks. Are you not guys happy with Mariam? Are you, is that how you welcome Mariam?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, MS. He said I am his temporal boss, but I think he is mine. Good morning, dear esteemed colleagues from the media. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. We are always eager to answer, and we are always humbled by that. This is the second dissemination that we're going to do for Afrobarometer. I'll just talk on a bit about Afrobarometer, but my colleague, Said Matijau, will do a detailed background on the Afrobarometer network. So Afrobarometer is a Pan-African non-partisan survey network institute that has presence in almost 42 countries within Africa. We know that data is very key, but when we talk about data within Africa, people who have gone for their master's studies, I think, will bear witness to me. We will rather write on other countries because there's not much data on Africa. So we end up writing on China and European countries, trying to link a connection to Africa. But Afrobarometer has a presence in 42 African countries and still counting. So what they do is, their work is centered on democracy, governance, and quality of life. And these are some of the most important categories that we all look into or want to research on. So nowadays, this kind of data that is presented within Africa, and you can do country analysis within West Africa, within Sub-Saharan Africa. So after this presentation that Said will take us through, he will also show you how to do an online analysis. And I think that will be very good for us as media people to be able to break down certain data to help inform people and policies. And he will also take home from the presentation what the individuals themselves, citizens, you and I, what we are talking about when it comes to what we want government to address. And today this dissemination is centered more on the most important issues that citizens of the Gambia feel that government should address. This survey that we did was done earlier. It was done around between April and May of this year. And we were fortunate to get a lot of key information that when shared with the public, it would be very helpful. Sometimes maybe we collect data and it's just lying somewhere. It's just uploaded somewhere. But once we engage and we involve the media and you people have first-hand experience with the data and you can see what is happening in real time, I think you will be in a better position to inform the public, to make people know what is happening behind closed doors. So that when people like us, who are researchers and we're up there, when we go down to people and ask questions, once the information is clear and it's substantial for them to understand in the most simplest form, it becomes very easy for us to knock on their doors and they will welcome us. Because then they know that, lima wahon dimba, tay dega na ko si news bi, and it is being reflective in the things that the government can do and will do for me, that I contributed to this. Then we feel very proud as Gambians that boka na si dara. So it's very, very key that we take home the key messages that this presentation that my colleague will be doing in a few minutes, and also help to give out the information in a very simple form. Because for people like us, we are researchers, we will just go there and kill you with the jargons of talking about the methodology and those things. But once you bring it to the simplest form, you people are experts in your own domain. So I know once you receive the message today, coupled with taking you through the online way of how this data can be disseminated, can be analyzed, can be used in a very informative way to help citizens, policymakers, and all the people who need the right information to drive the country to the direction that it's supposed to be, then I think we would have created something very substantial today. So I wouldn't want to waste time. I will just let Said Mati do the talking for the data itself. Also, I'll let the data do the talking for itself. Once Said Mati is doing his presentation, I will just indulge each and every one of you to please keep a keen attention on what is being presented, so that when you give out the information, it would be very helpful to everyone who will come in contact with it. Once again, I thank you for honoring our invitation, and I welcome you all to this event. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, my temporal boss, Mariam rather, sorry. Mariam Davis. She's the program manager of the CRPD, in case you wish to take the position rightly. As she rightly stated, data is very important. Projections that are not realistic sometimes. We've seen some of the things in terms of figures. I've seen recently my guys on the budget saying the budget is a scam, trying to demystify certain figures. So it's important to interrogate. These are independent institutions who are not attached to partisan politics. So whatever they do is scientific, and they also make sure it has a very important logical framework, so that it is not misleading the public. So it's important that we also have a keen listen to, we keenly listen to this deliberation. So now I will invite Sid Mati Jau, Chief Consultant, CRPD. So he will be, Sid, I think you will be here, probably what you do. You can just fix your laptop over there. Yeah, then, yeah, okay, Davis's laptop. So we can maybe allow Umar Ba to be our operator. Umar? Yes. Yeah, you just fix it there. Sid Martin will be here, so that we don't, we allow people to...
Yeah, but Davis can sit there because they...
Davis, you can do the operation. No, I wanted Omar to do the operation, but it's okay. Yeah.
Why don't we sit here and then the presentation to just project on the side here?
No, it will be projected here.
If he sits here, then it will be good. Our cameras will be able to get him. And
is that okay? Said Marty always want to stand.
No, I mean, for me, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's up to you.
If you sit here,
Yes.
it will be good so that our cameras will get the projection. Just
Is that okay for everybody?
No. The projection to make sure that he sits to clear away.
Okay, is that okay for everybody? Everyone, it's okay. All right.
Then I can do it.
Then you can just go ahead with that.
The only problem.
Then the mics. How about your mics?
Move.
Yeah, it has to. The mics has to move. So this is what I was not okay with.
Moving the next.
Yeah. Oops.
But this is more comfortable.
And this exactly.
Dama bugon na tahu consultant.
Yeah, it's going to be too long.
Consultant, I didn't know for it.
Okay. All right.
See? Yeah.
So that's all camera.
Can you push your camera, yeah. All right, so sit.
Right. Yes. Yeah, like a West Coast. Yeah, when you doing, right?
mu jógee si baax na everybody seen mic mu ngi fine wala su mënoon a waat sorry
kii TV ñu ne nga waaja
so ñëpp yéen a ngi kontaan si seen mic ah
Many politicians.
yeah dama tiimale mic yi booy bi dafa ñuul tamit de doo leen waa présentation bi
Ahmad, are you not seeing? Maybe because
can we put up this light
the lights are on.
waa we présentation laay si
Are you okay, guys?
I'm fine
Ahmad, it's okay? All right, sit.
Good morning. Thank you, MS. Thank you, Mariama, for setting up the space. But also want to thank all the journalists present here. Like Mariama was saying, it's always an honor, and to always welcome you. Whenever we call, you are there. So the kind of work we are doing it in partnership with you, because we go to the field, collect data. But we also want to get back to the people where we collected this data from and to share the data with them. As Mariama was saying, Afrobarometer is a Pan-African research network. And we have done some dissemination event before. We have released our first finding, and like MS was talking about just earlier last week we also released some press release on migration. And I saw the interest across the country, where even some people were saying, you have 70%, but it could be 90%. It shows that the people are reacting to the data, and that is thanks to the work that the media has been doing. And that's why this time we decided to, usually we have a panel and all those things. This time we just decided to have a direct interface with the media to share this data, but also to spend a little time to show them how they can also analyze this data without necessarily waiting for CRPD to do the data, because the data has already been collected, is already there as well. So that's the essence basically. So today what we want to present is the economic conditions and government performance, and this is the highlights from our round 10 survey in the Gambia. And so when we look at the data at a glance, we see that more than 3/4, that is 77% of Gambians, say the country is heading in the wrong direction. A 48 percentage point increase since 2018. Economic and living conditions, only about 2 in 10 Gambians, 19% describe the country's economic conditions as fairly good or very good, a 39-point drop since 2018 as well. Most important problems, health is the most frequently cited problem that Gambians want the government to address, followed by increasing cost of living and crime and security. Assessment of leaders' performance, a majority of Gambians disapprove of the way President, members of parliament, and local government councils have performed their jobs over the past 12 months. So what is Afrobarometer? Afrobarometer is a Pan-African non-partisan survey research network that provides reliable data on African experiences, evaluations of democracy, governance, and quality of life. The goal is to give African publics a voice in policy and decision making. Basically, we want the people to have a say in the public policy making and decision making in their countries. So since 1999, when Afrobarometer started, 9 survey rounds in up to 42 countries have been completed since then. And round 10 surveys were launched in January 2024. And as Davis mentioned, our survey took place in May of 2024. As you can see, these are the countries where Afrobarometer works. And if you look at the map, the color of the map, you can see from the countries when they were first surveyed, from 1999 to 2001, all the way to 2024. And if you look at Gambia, our first survey was in 2018. We joined the Afrobarometer network in 2018. And that is due to a fact, because for Afrobarometer to go to any country, there must be 3 conditions that need to be met. One, the people are free to express themselves. They are not scared of saying things and then they get locked up. And I remember in 2014, I was doing a survey and we didn't even ask the questions and I got locked up. So in such an environment, we don't feel people will be free to express themselves. And since we are doing perception, it's important that we have that. So Gambia joined in 2018. And that's why if you look at our data, we also try to show the trend from 2018 to now, what citizens were saying and until now. Yeah. So the second condition is that there must be census data, latest census, where because our framing is always based on national census, and so that is also there. But also the third option is to have an institution, a national partner that can also work with Afrobarometer. So since 2018 or 2017, since the change of government, there have been not only us but separate other institutions that also exist, all doing research and all are also part of the reasons why Afrobarometer come to a country. So so our methodology is national, and this is also mostly the kind of question we always receive. Our methodology is nationally representative sample of adult citizens age 18 plus, because we are looking at the voting age population, 18 plus. Here to vote starts at 18. So our interviews are usually done face-to-face interviews in the language of the respondent choice. We meet people in their own environment, and then we interview them in in languages of their choice. So Afrobarometer for us in Gambia, we translate the questionnaire into 4 major languages. The major languages, Mandinka, Fula, Wolof, and Jola. And these are things that we also use to interview citizens. So standard questionnaires allow comparison across country over time. And as you can see, Mariama was talking about the fact that when you collect this data, somebody in Senegal is also collecting it. In other countries, they're also collecting. And so the standardized nature of the questionnaire allow us to compare what Gambians are thinking and what Senegalese are also thinking using the Afrobarometer data. So it's always important that as much as we are asking Gambians, this data is also very comparable across other African countries. So the Afrobarometer team in the Gambia is led by the Center for Research and Policy Development. We were made the national partner last year, and so we did our own first survey, but previously it was separate, that was the national partner. And so our sample size is of 1,200, which we believe yields country level results with margins of sample error of +3 or -3 percentage points at a 95% confidence level. That we are very confident at 95% that our findings are reflective. Our findings are reflective, and anybody that can also follow the same process likely will reach the conclusions that we have also reached. So in terms of the demographics, in terms of gender, one of the things that we usually do with Afrobarometer is to try as much as possible to ensure that we always have 50-50 for when it comes to responses for men and women. But usually because of field work and all that stuff, sometimes it can be beyond that. So here we have 52% of those that were interviewed, where 52% were men and 48% were women. And in terms of residents, urban 59%, urban, and rural 41%. And then you have education, no formal education. Usually, if you look at it, people with no formal education, 43%. Usually, we receive this question whether you interview only those with no education or those with education, or So for us, the minute we get into the field, and based on our selection method, we can pick anybody in terms of their education or in terms of those levels. So primary, those with only primary, at least 13, that was 13%, and then secondary 32%, and post-secondary 12%, and 97% Muslims and 3% Christians. So in terms of the key findings, as you can see, this is a picture of CRPD staff collecting data. In the field. So economic and living conditions, key findings, more than 3/4, that is 77% of Gambians say that country is heading in the wrong direction, a 48 percentage point increase since 2018. In 2018 was 29%. Only about 2 in 10 Gambians, that is 19%, describe the country's economic conditions as fairly good or very good, a 39-point drop since 2018 as well. Health is the most frequently cited problem that Gambians want the government to address, followed by increasing cost of living and crime and security. And approval ratings on indicators of the government's economic performance have declined sharply compared to 2018 and 2021. So there's a graph showing basically what we've presented. Is the country going in the right direction? The question that we asked respondents was, would you say that the country is going in the wrong direction or going in the right direction? As you can see, going in the wrong direction, in 2018 it was 29 percentage point. It was 29%, but it has increased in terms of the rate to what, 77%. And those that said that the country was going in the right direction in 2018, which was 68%, basically also declined to 22 percentage point. Yeah. So evaluation of country's economic condition. Very good, very good. So the question we asked was, in general, how would you describe the present economic condition of this country? In 2018, again, 58% said fairly good or very good, but since then it has declined to what, 19% in 2024. And those that said fairly bad, very bad, it has gone from 28%, 71%, 79%, and now 77%. And again, increasing and all that stuff, but also a lot of people are saying that fairly bad, very bad, 77%. Huh? So we also, based on their perspective of the national economy and all that, we also asked people about their own personal living conditions. And in 2018, if you look at the findings, those that say fairly good or very good, when we asked them whether in general, how would you describe your own present living conditions, in 2018 was 66%. But over the period, it has declined to 36% in 2024. And those that said it was fairly bad or very bad has increased from 24% to 61%, and now in 2024 to 57%, even though there's been a little decline as well. So we also asked about retrospective and prospective assessment of economic conditions 12 months ago and 12 months ahead in time, basically whether people, so the first question was, looking back, how do you rate economic conditions in this country compared to 12 months ago? And then the other question was, looking ahead, do you expect economic condition in this country to be better or worse in 12 months' time? So economic conditions compared to 12 months ago, 70% say it's worse or much worse. That the economic conditions today is much worse, worse or much worse. And then you have economic condition in 12 months' time. Only 23% is hopeful that it is better or would be better or much better. But still, 59% of the population are saying that it would be worse or much worse. In even ahead, thinking ahead, then our economic condition would be even worse. I'm not sure whether this is also part of managing their own personal expectations or what, but it's definitely an interesting finding. So in terms of the most important problems, recently we've seen the president on a nationwide tour have a lot of engagement and discussions with the population, and this also, I think this is also very timely in terms of the conversation, in terms of what people want moving ahead. And so if you look at it, the question we asked, in your opinion, what are the most important problems facing this country that government should address? Respondents could give up to 3 answers, and then we aggregate those answers, and this is find it. So in 2018, if you look at health is the #1 problem that the people want the government to address. And this has increased basically from 33% in 2018 to 55%. Almost 6 out of every 10 Gambian think that health is the most important problem that government should address. Increasing cost of living, we've also seen that 45%, that is almost half of the population want government to address the increasing cost of living. We've also seen crime and security. In 2018, it was around 14%, and now 2024 is what, 34 percentage points. So there's been like 20 percentage point increase in terms of those that want crime and security to be addressed by government. Water supply is next. In 2018, we saw that it was very high on the agenda. It was 31%, but now we've seen a decline, even though it's still still an important issue that people want to want it addressed, but we can see it in terms of its ranking going down. Then followed by education, as we can see, infrastructure, farming and agriculture, electricity, unemployment, food shortage, famine, management of the economy. These are issues that the people say they want the government are the most important address. So we also ask citizens, how well or badly will you say the current government is handling the following matters, or haven't you had enough to say? And that is managing the economy, improving living conditions, creating jobs, keeping prices stable, narrowing gaps. And if you look at managing the economy, in 2018, the rating for government was 59%, that the government was very positive. There was a positive rating in terms of that, where the government was rated 59%. But in terms of managing the economy, as you can look at it, as you can see, from 2021 started declining, decline again in 2022, and picking up a little bit with 15 percentage point in 2024. Improving living standards of the poor, we see is also declined from 47% positive now to 11 percentage point. From creating jobs, 42% now to what, 9%, 9 percentage point, and keeping prices stable, 38% to what, 3%. So increasing cost of living, as you can see, was one of number 2 in terms of what people say the government should address. And narrowing gaps between the rich and poor, 38% to 6%. And so this figure basically is showing the percentage of people that say the government is doing fairly well or very well in these instances. So if you look at very well in 2018 and you compare it along the way, you can see that there has been a decline in terms of that. We went further to also assess, what we call assessment of leaders' performance. This report improvement during President Barrow's tenure with regard to freedom of speech, youth participation in politics, women participation in politics, respect for human rights, and preservation of law and order, 55%. However, more than 2/3, 68% believe peace and security in the country have deteriorated. And a majority of Gambians disapprove of the way the president, members of parliament, and local government councils have performed their jobs over the past 12 months. And so these are the questions. So these questions basically, we wanted to know the extent to which the president or President Barrow has performed. And so this is the rating that people give them. In your opinion, would you say the following conditions have become better or worse since President Adama Barrow assumed office in 2017? Freedom of speech, youth participation in politics, women participation in politics, government respect for human rights, preservation of law and order, but at the bottom we see peace and security. But if you go back to the most important problems that also citizens want the government to address, you can also find the issue of crime and security as well. Yeah. So we also engage citizens' views on leaders' performance. And for 2024, we've seen that what we asked was, do you approve or disapprove of the way that the following people have performed their jobs over the past 12 months, or haven't you had enough about them to say? The president, approval or strongly approve, that is 36%. Disapprove or strongly disapprove, 62%. Local government councillors, 34% approve or strongly approve, and 60% disapprove. MP National Assembly, 31% approve, and 65% disapprove. So, whenever I see this particular question, it always reminds me of, and why also Afrobarometer is there. In 2014, I got arrested because I was asking about the approval rating of President Jammeh, I remember I was also released on 23rd December from from remand. So I'm presenting also again on this particular data. Thank God, citizens say that political freedom and everything else has improved, so we are all safe. So in conclusion, we see that health, increasing cost of living, and crime, security are the top 3 most important problems that citizens want the government to address. Citizens express that the economic situation of the country has worsened compared to 2018, which definitely calls for swift intervention by government. Majorities also report improvement during President Barrow's tenure with regard to freedom of speech, youth participation in politics, women participation in politics, respect for human rights, and preservation of law and order, we can say. So thank you very much for the kind attention, and we hope that you can always follow us. You can scan the QR code and join our online, follow Afrobarometer online, but also access to other Afrobarometer products, but also help Afrobarometer make citizens' voice a key pillar of African policy and decision making. And as we've said, this is basically the intention of Afrobarometer: provide data to both the public and the citizens, collected from the citizens and sharing with the public, to ensure that decision makers and policy makers are aware of what citizens want, what their priorities are, and how they can respond to that. So MS, thank you so much. And we are open for questions and answers. Yes.
Thank you for really sticking to time. Very interesting revelations. So we will allow people to ask questions, clarifications, probably for the next, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes before we go to the next
session. Yeah.
Next session. If you want to ask a question or you want to clarify, you can just raise your hand, and you can also please mention your name and the name of your institution. Ahmad?
Good morning. I'm from the Standard. The first question is, what would be your advice to journalists who are working on this data? What are the things that they should look out for? And in some cases, do we also need to reach out, let's say for instance, experts, to discuss with them about the implication of this data? The other question is about the issue of the economy. Your recent publication indicated that at least about 70-something% of Gambians had considered one point to migrate. Have considered to migrate at one point, and the reason being the economy. And in your presentation, we have seen the part where you asked them about the issues they want government to address. And I've seen when it comes to the economy, 17% in 2018 said they want government to address the economy, and in 2024, 8%. So why do you think there is that different?
Yeah. So what would you want to do to allow the questions?
Yeah.
You note them down so that we take the other, probably maybe ask 3 or 4 questions. And, yeah. Please, your name and the institution.
Thank you very much. I am Esa, a journalist with News Coast Radio. In the start, something was said about it. But after publishing your research, what kind of response do you get from the people and the government?
Okay. Can we have probably another 2? Any question, please? Clarification? Okay. Back to Sid.
Yeah, maybe I can start with the second one. I think now we usually get positive feedback. Sometimes before the major challenge was that people will start questioning the methodology and all those different stuff. But subsequently, I think now people are convinced because just last week when we released the on migration, when we released the finding on migration, we saw that quite a lot of people were saying, oh. Yes. Quite a lot of people were saying that those findings were even less if you look at it. But I think we've been receiving good feedback because for us our job is to share this information and we don't know exactly how people are going to use it, for what purpose they're going to use it. But if you look at the new National Development Plan, and this is one way that government is using it, you can see that Afrobarometer data has been quoted by government in terms of some of our key findings, just to show that they are very much interested also in what citizens are saying. And for me, I think that's also one positive outcome that since 2018 we have also seen. But generally, not only for government, but for civil society, for development findings in most cases. But even now, students are also using this data to write their essays and assignments, which I think are the reasons why Afrobarometer came into being in the first place, to create that environment for all that to engage. The other question from Omar is saying, for journalists, I think for us, what we are presenting is data. We are not asking the why questions and all that stuff. And I think that's where your second suggestion, where when we present the data, if you want to elaborate more on it, I'm not an economist, I'm not an economic expert, but we can collect the data and show that. So if you want to have a detailed discussion, you can pick on some of these findings. Look at this, for instance, healthcare. Why is it that Gambians are saying, why is it that consistently every year Gambians are telling the government that we want you to invest in healthcare? And then you look at from 2018 to now, what has been spent on healthcare? Is it that government is listening to what Gambians are saying, is listening to that? What is the World WHO recommendation for government to address healthcare? Is it not about 15% of the national budget? So those are things that we also expect from government, from journalists, to take the data, but to run with it, to go to experts, to see with them, based on the findings, why is this the case? Why do they think this is the reason? And through that, we'll have, the conversation could be more interesting, more dynamic, and beyond just asking that these are the things that citizens are experiencing and feeling, but this is exactly also how policymakers and other stakeholders are also responding to that. So for me, that is the expectation that I have with journalists, not only to share the findings, but to take the findings and go to what are. And even if you do detail, you'll know who are these people that are demanding for water supply. Crime and security, from 14% to 34%. And sometimes this is the perception of the citizen. But if you talk to government, they might say, well, crime is on the decrease. But citizens are feeling it, and they are saying that it's on the increase. So these are the kind of debates that we expect journalists could, use the data and then, kickstart some sort of conversation. So if you look also in terms of the second question, in terms of, generally, when you look at this, we just pick up the 10 things that the 10 most important problems that citizens say they have it. So even though the percentage of people that say that it has from 70% to 8% has declined, that doesn't mean that it's not still an issue. It's a major issue. That's why it falls under this 10 category. But if you look at management of the economy, you add that to increasing cost of living, which is also part of the economy. It shows that the everyday living conditions of the people are difficult. And I think that's why also those that say that they are migrated because of the economy. For them, it was more of the economy, the poor state of the economy, the high cost of living, the issue of unemployment as well, not being able to get jobs. So these are all add up, and at the end of the day, might be reason for people to consider migrating, outside the country. So the number that said it is important has declined from 70 to 18, but it's still an important issue, that citizens want the government to address as well. If you look at even infrastructure, for infrastructure, perhaps you can argue that maybe citizens have also seen certain road construction across the country. If it was an important issue, maybe that one also has declined. But for me, I will say that, even though I'm not an economist.
Thank you. Additionally, how journalists can use this data is to trigger public conversation around it, and also to use it as a tool to ask questions. For example, there was a time when he had, I think that it was a press conference, and he said, there is no question because everything is going fine. That may not be the case, but you can use Afrobarometer data as a referencing point.
to also have a contrary view as to what is happening, or to ask questions. You can give a background saying that looking at the 2024 Afrobarometer survey on this is what the survey is saying. And the ministry is saying this, and these are facts.
And I think, MS, you know, yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, because usually there is what government says, and you know what citizens, think. In that way, government say I'm doing this, but citizens also, the ones that are supposed to receive, because this is more like a supply side and demand side sort of relationship. And what Afrobarometer is trying to do is to provide that feedback to government, to stakeholders, so that they can know that, well, yes, you said you are doing all of these things, but this is exactly what the citizens are saying. Why is it that the citizens are not aware of some of the things that and the policies that you are at all? So there's always a way that you can create important conversations, from this data. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we can do a lot with this. Definitely, we can do a lot with this. So, Mr. Bale, Dauda? Okay. Oh, okay.
I've addressed the question.
Oh, okay.
Now I've answered your question without knowing your question.
Yeah. So hold on. We can have the probably final round.
Yeah, flex.
Okay,
Yeah.
flexi too. Small wide.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's working. It's working. Now use this one.
Thank you very much for organizing this activity. I think earlier, I don't know whether this one will go to my former president or to sit, because at the beginning, during the introduction, you said something about how journalists could use it to compare. So I don't know whether, I think you said there's an online.
Yes, we'll show you the online Afrobarometer online, and eventually at some point, one of the things, our intention is to organize a special training for the journalists, so that usually it's not for me to come and present the data, but you can have access to the data. If you want to write a story, you just go to the data, do your own analysis, and also present that. And I think Omar also attended one of the Afrobarometer training. Yes, we also want him to share his experience and all that. So which will be really helpful for other journalists, because that's also the intention. So hopefully that's one of the things that we want to do in the beginning of next year, first quarter of next year. Where we lead and facilitate those kind of trainings, so that you have a whole idea of what it is, and that will help us make our jobs easier. So for us, that's the intention we want to do it, because what our job is to go and collect it from the citizens and then have it there. And once we have it, it's a free data. It's for the public. Anybody can use it. So the people that want to use it, we want to show them how they can use it and what they can analyze it, so that at the end of the day, they will not be too dependent on us to be analyzing things for them. Rather, they will be doing it on their own and independent from us, which I think would be very helpful.
Yes, thank you. And the main reason why I said it, you referenced Dr. Cisse. He's also talked about how Gambia is doing very well in the sub-region. So obviously, with that kind of data that allows us to compare how Gambia is performing amongst other African countries, it can enable us unlock another avenue for us journalists to ask the right questions.
Afrobarometer also shares, like I said, products. There's what they call Africa profiles. And definitely when we, for us, our data is what the citizens are telling us. And so if you compare what citizens are saying across, in many cases, especially around political and other freedoms, you see that Gambia pretty well doing much, in some instances where even we top the ladder, even on Afrobarometer data. So that's important, that we can also show you. And we'll show you also the entire products where, just Afrobarometer and how you can access those. If you're interested, yes. Well.
So the final round of questions, so that we can go to the next session. Dawa, again?
Yeah. A clarification on the data that you presented here. I've seen on cost of living is 45%, but there's nothing like in 2018 survey, which leaders have it. Is that an oversight?
No, it's not. Sometimes, because Afrobarometer, sometimes we bring in new questions, so I'm not sure, maybe it could be. But for this one, for this year, it's for this year. So, but I don't think we in 2018. about that question. So usually when we ask a question for the first time, we just leave it like that. So that's at least so that you know that we are not, we don't compare in that, but we are saying that for 2024, cost of living after health is the second most important problem that citizens want government to address.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Any other, finally? Okay, so we are on time. Mariam, you want to say something? Yeah, let me.
Ah, okay, very good.
Please.
That's my boss there, so.
Thank you. No, I just wanted to clarify what Sid was saying initially. So Afrobarometers, sometimes they would ask certain questions and remove certain questions based on the topic that they want to focus on more. So in 2018, there was nothing about the cost of living. This question was introduced in 2024. And that is why you don't see a comparison between 2018 and 2024 for the cost of living. In other areas also, you will see that there are some questions that would have been asked in 2018 but removed in 2022. So you only have comparison between 2018, 2021, and 2024 instead of having it consistently. So that's the reason why there was only 2024 for cost of living. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria. Okay.
So we go to the next session.
Yeah. So thank you, Sid. Please, a round of applause for Sid, our consultant. I think he did justice to the presentation. Sid. So we're going to the next.
Yeah, it's just briefly, just to show you.
Yeah,
you can just go home and then you go online and then you do the rest. Yeah. So this is the Afrobarometer, www.afrobarometer.org is the Afrobarometer website. So if you go to the Afrobarometer website, you see up, before country, you see analyze online.
Okay.
So analyze online, that's where we are actually right now on the page. So if you want to analyze your own data on the Afrobarometer page, this is where you come. And here we have opportunities, blog, and everything else. So on the other side, we have publications, and there are different publications that Afrobarometer do. Dispatches, flagship reports, Pan-African profiles. And the question that Flex was asking in terms of the Pan-African comparison, and that's what Dr. Cisse was also saying, because, when we started Afrobarometer, don't forget that Doctor was also part of the original team. So Pan-African profiles also basically profile the entire continent or some of the countries, and there you can also find reports that have been released, and Gambia is compared to other countries. And also we do scorecards where, on some of these questions, we can also, it's part of also the broader comparison to see to what extent a particular country is performing on some things. So if you were to do the online data, as you can see, our online data analysis ODA tool is free, an easy way to find, analyze, and use high quality data on the views, experience of Africans. And the ODA contains our data sets from 39 African countries going back to 1999. So if you're looking for data, well, Gambia started in 2018. So for Gambia, you might find us in 2018. But if you're looking for data, you can go far back as 1999 to see that. So you can search our data set by country, by survey question, and by survey round. You can compare individual countries and regions or get the continental view on the topics of your choice. You can slice and dice the data by gender, age, education, level, and other demographic variables. You can identify trends over time as well, because since 1999, one can always get a longitudinal approach. So if you look here, this is the ODA basically. So this is, if I want to select a year, maybe 1999, let's go, Gambia was not there. So all the countries that were active in 1999 will show up, will pop up. You see, before when I deselect, you see Botswana, Ghana, Lesotho, these were the countries that did Afrobarometer in 1999. So if I want to compare data from here, I'll just click this one. I click here, select the countries that I want to select, Lesotho, all these different countries. Yeah. And then I go to analyze. Yeah, then the analysis will get me the questions. We have the perceptions of life, politics and society, national identity, structure and metadata, socio-economics. So let's say we want to know perceptions of life, you know, and within the perception of life, we ask people about whether they discuss politics, affected by worried or tired, all these different questions that were asked. So let's look at discourse politics, for instance. So you can see all the things that I've been doing is just clicking, huh? And then this is the data. And then you can see Botswana, Ghana, Lesotho. You know, you see that it's already analyzed in terms of this particular question. You know, everything is also color-coded, never, somewhat. So basically, this is what it does. So if you go back, we can go back. Yeah. So let's take, for instance, in 2018 when Gambia was there. So we can deselect the all other countries and look at Gambia. Here is Gambia in 2018. We can select Gambia. So we compare it with what countries? We can compare it with all of them.
Senegal.
Okay, let's look for Senegal. So we pick Gambia and Senegal. And so what do we go? Analyze. And the analysis, when you go to analysis will bring you the questions that we asked that year. And so you can, all these questions, whatever we click, we can compare it with them. Let's take politics and society. So confidence in different institutions. This was Senegal in 2018, let us remember, and Gambia in 2018 also. So people must pay taxes. What is the citizens' views on that? When you click that, okay. So this is the Gambia and Senegal data. If you look at the question for each of the following statements, please tell me whether you disagree or agree. The tax authorities always have the right to make people pay taxes. So you can compare. So if you look at Gambia, for those that say strongly agree or agree, you can see that Gambians, you have 60% of Gambians that strongly agree. Way more than 60% of, well, Senegal is 50% half. So you can always find the data along those lines. You know that 60% of Gambians feel that, you know, citizens must, the tax authority has the right to make people pay tax. So that shows that there's a whole compliance. So Gambians believe that, you know, that is it's duty, it's the institution's duty to be able to do that. We can look at another question also to see. So Omar, your training went different, I guess. But you know, this is not the training, so we're just showing. Maybe after I'll pass you the mic, and then you maybe share, share one or two things on that. Justify for parents to physically discipline children. We also ask. So you can see, there are differences, even though we are very close. You know, we are the same people. There's differences in terms of how we think. Justify for parents to physically discipline children. In Gambia, 62% sometimes justified. Senegal is less than that. Senegal, 47% say it is physical violence. Basically, is less justified sometimes. Always justified. Again, you have more in Senegal compared to us. But then, you know, very almost similar, those that say that they are never justified. So these are ways that you can easily compare, you know, countries. You can do for, you can select and do for, you know, as much as different countries and different topics as you like. Yeah? Maybe one last sample, and then we pass the mic to Omar. My kind of teaching is just show it to you, and then you go and do your practice. That's the way I do my teaching, and I think some of my students can attest to that. Okay, so we go back. So we can also do on select all. Okay. So let's do round 10. where we compare Gambia, some of these countries are not here yet because they have not done it, but some of the countries that have done it, I think are here. Let's say Ghana. Democracy and politics, rights and freedoms. Freedom to say what you think.
They have a better scores.
They have a better scores. That's what you say?
I mean, Gambia will have better scores. Gambia. No, I mean, Gambia and Ghana? No, Ghana. Go ahead, check.
Wait, sorry, something happened.
You didn't select.
Okay, analyze. Democracy.
Right.
Freedom to say what you think.
Ghana will be better.
MSA Ghana will be better. So here we have Gambia 65%
So
and Ghana 59.9%.
then we are good to go. We are good to go.
You know, so that's why, you know, when it comes to some of these freedoms, you know, people report this very openly. But let's look at maybe another question. Freedom to join any political organization is almost the same. 81% in Gambia and 82% in Gambia, 80.5% in Ghana.
Wow.
So for freedoms, yes. Let's look at maybe elections. Let's look at elections. Voting in the most recent, intend to vote in the next election. Reasons for not voting. Reasons for not. Okay, let's look at how likely powerful people find the way you vote. Yes, this one, Ghana is ahead. Ghana has 64, and then we have, so, but this is the way you compare. You can do your own comparison based on whatever you are interested in. You know, you can see it. It's just clicking, and then it's get there. It also provides you with the graphs. You can easily also download these graphs. Yeah, so you can expand it here. And I think you can also extract it, export, if you want to export it. You can export it as PDF, you can export it, you know, you can even take a picture as snapshot or screen, and then you do export. So it will share us, download na ko de. Man hanga man, I'm not advanced in technology. So it does that. So you can do your own analysis and then you expand it, you look at it if you want to, yeah. So, but hopefully, when we have the detailed training, that will be more useful and helpful for you. Thank you.
I think we need a very comprehensive detailed training on this for journalists. It's very important.
And we are showing it this way so that to get people interested. If they're interested and say we're interested, we can do it. But we don't want to do things that people are not interested as well.
No, of course.
Yeah. So they have to say that, oh, we are interested.
Are you guys interested? Yeah. So the survey is done already.
So
90%.
Yeah.
So I think this is very important, and few hours cannot just finish this. Probably what we can do is why surveys are important, how surveys are done, and how to analyze. Very, very important. So thank you very much, Sid. Now we will allow Omar. Omar, we will give you probably just 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Who is this? More.
15 minutes.
That's even too much.
That's too much. You want to come here?
10 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
No,
Yeah. He's just going to share his.
Omar, we are going to give you 10 minutes. All right, to share your experience. Omar?
So after that, you can open the file.
Yeah, open the floor for discussion. Go ahead.
See the screenshot we picked.
No, thank you.
Omar, you are sitting there. Presenting.
No, it's not presenting. It's just sharing his.
Okay, share.
Okay. You know, I only know I'm going to do this
When you got here, yes.
the
Agenda, yes.
I was not.
I like to put people on the.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, MS. Once again, good morning. And of course, I'd have to thank Sid for nominating me for the training in Ghana. It was a very interesting training, but mainly we focused on data, on how to use data. And I think we are opportune to have people like Flex. We are opportune to have people like Flex, who, of course, over the past years has been, utilizing data in a different style in his reporting.
Yeah.
So, it's the battery. It's the battery. So during the training in Ghana, the first thing they trained us on was, first, as a journalist, you have to realize that a data is just a source. If you receive the data, just consider it as a source.
Yeah.
Then it's your responsibility to do further analysis by, of course, contacting experts who understand the area that you are writing about. If it is the economy, try and have an economics. First ask them about the data. First, probably you question the data itself. If you are able to do that, you question it. If you verify that yes, this is a credible
data source,
source like Afrobarometer is one of the most credible sources of data in Africa. So if you have that, then the next thing is to try and engage an expert to help you analyze it. If you analyze it, then you ask the questions about, of course, the implications. Because if you just report like we are doing, and the rest of us are victims of that. One example is the recent release on migration. All of us reported on the migration, but the most important parts were inside, and that's the one you presented today. I didn't know when I was reporting on the migration that at least 62% disapproved of the president's performance, and not only that, that majority of Gambians want government to concentrate on the issues of health. And if you are looking at these things and you are doing a story on them, also you have to try and connect it to the realities. For instance, we are going to elections in 2026. I covered the US elections this year, and every other voter that I asked, do you want to vote and who are you voting for? They go straight to the issues. I am voting because of migration, or I am voting because of the economy. So in the Gambia it's different.
Yes.
So if they know so much about issues that affect them, why is it that it's not reflecting
on their choices?
And when they are voting.
Yes.
So we should do stories around this. Talk to political scientists who understand the realities of politics in the Gambia. And also these stories will help these people to better understand what to look for in a political party. Because it's about what you have to offer. It's not the person, it's not where the person is from. It's the manifesto. So if you see that this manifesto really doesn't address the issues that are affecting me, ignore that political party and go for the party that you think will solve the problem. There are Americans who voted for people they know very well will not win. But they think they have the programs that they believe will address the challenges they are facing. So coming back to the data, like I said, it's just a source, but very important source. If you publish it as it is, you are not helping the reader to understand. You have to analyze it, because SAID cannot do that for them. What SAID can do is to collect the data, do the analysis and then publish it, but to break it down. That's the responsibility of the journalist. And like MS said, I think we need trainings on that. When I returned from Ghana, I did a story and I tried to put, these data there and these numbers. And so, it's not just also about the reporter, it's about the editors also understanding how crucial is this
data is,
to bring these numbers to help people understand. And when we are also reporting on this data, we try as much as possible to make sure we understand what we are reporting.
Yes.
Because if you don't understand what you are reporting, you don't expect me reading it far away in, what is the name of your village?
In Fast Chaho.
In Fast Chaho, will understand.
Yeah.
So make sure whatever you put in there, you understand it. And like I said, the data, the moment you receive it from SAID will just send you maybe a snapshot. Ignore that. Go straight to the website. Open the website and you see all the applications on top. Try and search for Gambia. Then search for the data and go deep. The data that SAID shows here is deep, is down. Up, you just find what SAID here, because that's what they put top. SAID Mati, that's what they usually see everywhere, and people will see it around. So ignore that and go down and look at the issues that matter. The issues of health, issues of leadership and other things, you report, so that also that helps government and people like Dr. Cisse to understand that really what they are saying is totally different from what Gambians are feeling. You cannot tell me we are okay in this situation. It's not possible. When you come to the economy, in 2018, I was spending 200 or 150 for fish money. Today I'm spending over $400. So you cannot tell me it's okay. It's not okay. There is something fundamentally wrong. The dollar was around $50, around 2017-18, or a little more than that. Today is 70 or 70 something. So something is wrong. But how do they know that something is wrong? Of course they know. Government knows, Dr. Cisse knows. But the citizens should understand these things. And it's only journalists and data like what Afrobarometer is publishing that we will be able to help those who don't even participate in these surveys to understand the realities and what is going on. Also, if you're looking at the data, we were told during the training that also look at the narrative, focus on the narrative, the narratives of the data, and this is to prioritize storytelling. Storytelling and reporting the data is completely different. It's just like I give you a tip that there is a corruption case in the State House. Somebody stole 10 million. So the story is not the 10 million. The story is who stole that 10 million and how did he do it, and those who accomplishes him or her. That is the story. Because if you just say 10 million stolen, I contacted State House, they denied it. People will just say 10 million stolen. But maybe the president is part of those who accomplish that guy. It could be the vice president, it could be anybody. So that is the story. So that is also the data. Make sure every story that you are reporting is, you tell the story. Don't allow the data to tell the story. You tell the story by improving on the data through engaging experts who understand better than you. Yeah. Also, if you are looking at the data, also look at, consider ethics. Very important, because in most cases, and myself I'm a victim of that, just focus on the negatives. There are positives.
Yes.
In even this data, a lot of positives for Gambia when it comes to democracy and other things. A lot of positives. These positives also you need to highlight, so that if Dr. Cisse reads this, who I think is more educated than you probably, reads this, will give probably a honest analysis of it, because you will say, of course, this is the data and it's coming from a credible organization. But this reporter did justice to it. He come up with the critical part, but also publish the good sides that government is approved of doing good. So that is also important. Just don't focus on the negative and ignore all the good things in the report. And they know if you do sometimes. They go to press conference. They say this. They say there are a lot of good things there, but they ignore it and just focus on the negative. So also it's our responsibility to be transparent when we are reporting on this data. Like I said, critical analysis, and during the training they really emphasize on that critical analysis. And I said that before. Make sure the data is critically analyzed. If you cannot do it, get somebody to do it for you. Analyze it critically. If need be, reach out to the source of the data, ask questions, make sure there is clarity, so that you don't put yourself in a funny situation. Because sometimes you don't understand certain jargons. You just go ahead with them, and somebody will ask you on the street, "What do you mean?" and you cannot explain.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So yeah, I think that's one area with the graphics set. They tried, but I could not understand. I need more training when it comes to the graphics.
Graphics,
but
yes.
apart from that, these are normal things that we journalists should understand. But also organizations like Afrobarometer should understand that we have a very young media. Who are so young. Of course, Majak is helping, but that is not enough. Majak probably don't have expertise in all these areas. So you people have to step in and help yourself and help us, because if you train us, for us to understand how to go about these things, you are helping yourself. Because then we will do justice to the data you are publishing, and that will help you to have more grading in terms of not just those who read, but even the citizens. Because the more we publish your reports, the more citizens talk to you. So understand the media landscape, that we have a very young media, and the media needs help, especially when it comes to training. You don't need to give us money every time, but if you can give us those resources, it requires training for us to be able to perform. And if you're doing this also, look at people who are reporting on these areas. Just don't go and get anybody and bring them. You need also people who have interest to report on these issues. If they are not reporting on these issues, if you train them and at the end of the day they are not going to report on it, it makes no sense. And this is the issue we face in this country in most cases. You have a health program, you invite journalists who only report on politics, and then you train them. They go back and continue reporting on politics, report on health.
Okay. That's true.
So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It should be two ways.
Yes.
You can also make people to be interested in certain topics, even if they are not interested in those kind of things. But also I agree with you that you should engage people based on their interests. And CRPD, I agree with Omar, we need training on this. I'll comment Flex. Flex will always do data journalism. It is the way to go. If you go to the US, New York Times, if you check BBC, they believe data journalism is the future. People are tired of he said, he added, he noted, or whatever, or he proceeded, or whatever, underscored. People want to know the causes, the consequences, and the solution. And you cannot know that without data. Data tells you everything. It tells you it tells you the foundation. It gives you the challenges. It gives you the realities, the projections. So if you don't understand data journalism, then it becomes a problem. So a recommendation, I'm not sure whether someone is taking this. Saint Mati, one of the recommendations is to train journalists on data journalism, data-driven, and understanding how to analyze data is very key. I would like to also recognize the presence of Auntie Tabo, the auntie of all people. Auntie, you are welcome. Yes.
In that training, we should
Invite.
We should invite?
Yeah, editors too.
Yes.
In most media houses, it's going to have this old people staying in the editorial rooms. They don't understand these things.
Is it important?
Uncle Sam, John, you send them these things, they remove everything. Yesterday, I did a story on the TRRC implementation plan.
Yes.
And I looked at the whole plan, and then I went to the finance and the breakdown. You see, people should also understand what is going on.
Yes.
Because in that breakdown, majority of the money that is projected for prosecuting Jammeh and little other reforms in the security sector, roughly about $65 million US. Majority of it is going to palliums. And
going to what?
palladiums and vehicles.
Palladiums, you see.
Palladiums and vehicles.
Recurrent
So look at that. If you have that, how about the victims?
Exactly.
You have that $95 million just on vehicles, palladiums, and organizing meetings in the Gambia. I saw one part where they have $500,000 just for meetings, engagements between Minister of Justice and ECOWAS in the Gambia. $500,000. So these are things
I agree with you.
The editors will remove it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. For me, I think it has to be a comprehensive training, engagement as well. When we have this, we can help facilitate that to bring editors. Because it's the future.
Yeah.
We don't want to just narrate this, things that are on the surface. We want to go deep down into issues and bring in data. Mostly they will tell you, oh, if you do data, whatever, you don't have the space and stuff. But now, all of these media houses, you have websites. You know, you have online presence. You also have, you could have a portion where you have data analysis column, whatever. You can even have a column to discuss on data, issues around data. So I think it's important. It should be a collective responsibility. So, Sid, I think we need to really look into that. Maybe you want to say something.
Yeah, maybe my last word would be definitely. I think even if you look at the way we set up this, usually with our dissemination, we bring in panelists and we discuss. But this time we just wanted to, introduce this idea and also to see whether there will be that interest so that we can continue to do the training. So I'm going to say this. So maybe Davis is responsible for these things. So Mariama, you see, our journalists say they want training. So we'll have to do training for, I think, first quarter of next year on the Afrobarometer findings, but also data generally. So, you know, we know that. That is something definitely we want to do. Yes. Jay, I am making that commitment here as well.
Yeah. So, and also, you know, you've made mention of this. They also would want to know the efforts that you take. You know, sometimes you see food on the table, but you don't know
the struggle
you went through. So that they will know that, these people are going through this. Oh my goodness. They will appreciate it. So I believe it should be maybe a 2-day training where first you can do the importance of data, how you collect data, how you do data analysis and stuff. Then you do the next day you do the practical aspect of it.
There's a whole program on the Afrobarometer.
Exactly.
So we just localize that.
Yeah. So,
all right, thank you.
Yeah, anytime. So thank you. Now what we do, we have a group photo outside. Oh, David, you want to say something to finalize, to close? All right. No other thing? I think we are done. We are on time, huh?
Group photo and there's refreshment, I think.
Wow, 11:40.